Good afternoon. This is August Kleinzahler in San Francisco, and I'm here to tell you about my new book from Carcanet, A History of Western Music. And I'll tell you how it began. I was in London in the late 90s in Heathrow Airport, and everywhere I went in Heathrow, and subsequently everywhere I went in London, I heard a performance of Gustav Mahler's Adagietto from his Fifth Symphony, which is a very gorgeous piece of music, as you'll know, and some of you are probably familiar with it from Visconti's Death in Venice. And the other music I heard everywhere I went was Frank Sinatra singing various of his famous tunes. Um, and as it turned out, it was Frank Sinatra week in London. So every public place I went, pubs, restrooms, what have you, it was Frank Sinatra. On television, it was Frank Sinatra movies. I remember Tony Rome was one of the movies with Angie Dickinson, and there was an ad with a computer-generated Weimaraner singing "I Did It My Way" in a gravelly voice, and thus it went for 2 or 3 weeks across London and then Dublin. Uh, and I found this very strange. Now, at the same time, I was writing a weekly music column for the San Diego Reader. So music was on my mind quite a bit. And I decided to weave together somehow these two very unlike musical creatures, Frank Sinatra, cum Ava Gardner, uh, and Gustav Mahler, cum Alma Mahler, who was and their more spiritual relationship as opposed to Ava and Frank. And I had great fun doing it, and I had to find a title for it. Um, so I called it uh, very grandiosely A History of Western Music, which sounds quite highfalutin and scholarly. And I did that deliberately because the material was, particularly the Sinatra and Ava Gardner material, was actually rather coarse, as Frank and Ava could be on occasion, particularly if they'd had a few drinks. And I sent it to the London Review of Books, and they seemed to like it. And uh, thus, a history of Western music began. Um, and for 25 years, the London Review of Books pretty much printed all of those poems, along with other poems, as I was writing other poems. But whenever a poem I wrote had a musical component, I called it A History of Western Music and arbitrarily assigned chapters to it. So again, with the scholarly uh, uh, notion of a tome like A History of Western Music. And it's a free ranging book from Paraguay to Rio to Montreal, some of the places, and historic Paraguay in the early 17th century, and Montreal at the moment. Elvis Presley's death is announced on the radio, and so it's all over the place. And uh, there are the exotic locales, and then there are the more familiar locales for me, being a native New Jerseyan. So there are quite a few poems from New Jersey, and there are quite a few poems from here in San Francisco. Um, Fogs in some of them, my backyards in some of them. But hadn't really conceived of these music poems as as a book until a few years ago. I realized that I had uh, more than a couple of dozen of them, including a few I wrote as long ago as 35 years ago, not to date myself. Um, so I said, "What the hell? I'll see if I can put a book together," and I did. And so that's how it came to pass. I thought I'd read you a poem, a New Jersey poem, uh, and the setting is Cafasso's Fairway Market on Anderson Avenue, which I've been going to since my parents dragged me there as a tot, and is still there. And I noticed walking the aisles that, and it's a very old-fashioned Italian market, um, but the muzak that they were playing were power ballads from the 70s and 80s. You know, these tortured uh, schmaltzy songs about romance going amiss. And I thought, what a strange atmosphere, you know, shopping for pork chops and uh, paper towels to be listening to these uh, passionate, uh, grieving love songs. And which I found rather musically uninteresting and overdone. But there is one power ballad that actually absolutely drives me to tears every time I hear it, and that's well, you'll find out. I'm going to read it to you. Chapter 63, Whitney Houston. They follow you around the store, these power ballads. You and the women with their shopping carts filled with eggs, cookies, 90 fluid ounce containers of antibacterial dishwashing liquid, buffeting you sideways like a punishing wind. You stand almost hypnotized at the Rastassyria counter, staring at the braised lamb shanks, the patterns those tiny coagulated rivulets of fat make, both knees about to go out from under you. Can I help you, sir? No, no, thank you. I'm afraid not. It's mostly the one woman who writes these things, a petite, almost perpetually somber brunette in her LA studio, undecorated, two cats, traffic coursing up and down the boulevard outside, curtains drawn against the unrelenting sun. Because of your unconventional lifestyle, you have been shopping among women your entire life. Young mothers and matrons. Almost no other males except staff and seniors. The old men squinching their eyes, scowling at the prices. What sort of life have you led that you find yourself, an adult male of late middle age, about to weep among the avocados and citrus fruits, in a vast overlit room next to a bosomy Cuban grandma with her sparkly, extravagant eyewear? It's good that your parents are no longer alive. It's a simple formula, really. Verse, verse, chorus. Don't take too long to get there. Verse, chorus, bridge, solo, if any. Chorus, good chance of a key modulation here. Really gets them. Electric keyboard, soaring guitar, likely a string part or two. There is no telling how much that woman is worth. A misunderstood Jewish girl from Van Nuys. How would one go about making love to someone like that? Sitting alone in her studio all day, shades drawn, two cats, writing these songs of tortured love, up to the tips of her waders in self-immolation, often keeping at it well into the night. Celine Dion, Cher, Michael Bolton, Faith Hill, Tony Braxton, knocking you back one after another all morning and afternoon, at least until the men arrive after work. I don't know why. Perhaps it has to do with the emotional nature of women. You're breathing all funny, nearly paralyzed. But there's one song they almost never play, and I'll tell you why. It's the one Dolly Parton wrote, not the brunette. But it's not Dolly who's doing the singing. It's the one who just died. Because if they played that one, it wouldn't be just you dying in aisle number 5. All the girls would be dropping there like it was sarin gas pouring from the speakers up there, hidden behind the light.